Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Keandra, and today we're talking about how to find a therapist that's a good fit for you. Now, before we even get started today, if you appreciate this level of information and knowledge, don't forget to smash that like button for me. And as a special thank you for that, I have a little extra secret for you towards the end of this video. So let's get into it. Let me break down some of the ways that you guys can find a therapist that's a right fit for you. So the first place and the first way that you can find a therapist is through what we call EAP. I'm gonna say that again, EAP. EAP stands for an Employer Assistance Program. And what that is, it basically means through your job, if you have employment, you are able to get connected with a particular network, and that network is full of therapists in your local area, surrounding areas. They're sectioned by state. All of those things are there. And so your provider, your job, gives you the information to your Employer Assistance Program. It's your responsibility to call, give them the information, why you're searching for therapy, all of those things, and they should provide you with either a database or an online link or a list of different providers that is within your network. And so what that means is it's your responsibility to go search through the list that they provided to you that is close by in your area, make sure that it's a therapist that's a good fit for you, whether that's based on location, whether that's based on the type of issue that you might have, whether it's based on what other preferences you might want your particular therapist to have, and then they provide you with that person's information and you contact them or they contact you, and then you're connected with a therapist. I'm giving y'all the condensed version, but what an EAP is basically like short-term therapy. So I've worked with tons of EAP services over the last decade or so, and what they do is they provide a limited number of counseling sessions to their employees for free. So say for instance, you have an issue and you need to speak with a therapist, and so you'll go through the process that I just mentioned, but they will also provide you with a few sessions. So it can be 3 sessions, it can be 5 sessions, it can be 10 sessions. I think the most that I have ever seen across any EAPs is 15 sessions. Now, the number of sessions that you actually have is based on the plan or the program that your employer and your job pays for. Okay? So it's not like you get to choose how many sessions you want or how many sessions you might need. It's truly based on what is already set in place for your employer. So that is one of the ways. An additional secret that I want to share with you guys is that you will eventually run out of those sessions. 3, 5, 10 sessions is really not that much when you are consistently going to your therapy sessions. And so what I want to encourage you to do is, even though you might find a therapist that accepts your EAP or is a part of that network, you also will want that same therapist to have your particular type of health insurance, if you have any. And that way, once your therapy sessions run out through your EAP, you can continue going to that same exact therapist through your health insurance because they're already connected with your network. So that leads me to the second thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and the second way for you guys to find a therapist, which is through your health insurance. If you are employed or if you are self-employed and you have health insurance, you can find a licensed therapist through your health insurance provider, whatever type of health insurance that you might have. And so this is a really popular option for a lot of people because 1, you're paying for it out of your paycheck, but 2, it really does cut down on a lot of the costs that most people are fearful of when it comes to therapy. Some people might think that going to therapy is a little pricey, or it's a little bit, well, a lot of bit expensive, depending on who you are, what your level of income is, and where you live. And so going through your health insurance is a great option to only just have to pay your copay, or to only just have to pay and meet a deductible. And so it's a really powerful option for a lot of people who might not be able to afford $100, $200, $300 plus therapy session every single week because it's just a better financial option for you. Now, there are some things that you need to know about going through your health insurance, and this isn't talked about enough amongst clients, but also amongst therapists. One of the things that I love to do is to school my clients or my potential clients on the pros and cons of doing different things, the pros and cons of using your health insurance so they can be as informed as possible. Now, people have different perspectives about health insurance, using it, diagnosing, all of these things, but I'm going to tell you this from my own personal and professional experience. And so you can take this information as you please, but apply it to your life in whatever way that you see possible. So when you use your health insurance, you have to be given a diagnosis. There isn't a health insurance carrier out there who will pay your therapist just because you don't feel like yourself one day and you want to come in and talk to somebody. They're not going to do that. You have to be given a diagnosis of depression, of anxiety, of PTSD, of whatever fill in the blank that is. And so there is something called a DSM, which is the Diagnostical Statistical Manual, whatever it stands for at this point. But it's a thick old, let me get it for y'all. Okay, so here it is. It's a very thick book. Y'all see all these pages? Woo! And it's filled with so many different types of disorders and different codes and things that are related to the mental health field. And so in order for a therapist to get paid through a health insurance carrier, your health insurance carrier, they actually have to provide you with a diagnosis from that book. Now, if there is no diagnosis, then the therapist doesn't get paid, which is a problem that we'll talk about at another time, okay? But some people do not like, therapists and clients included, some therapists don't like diagnosing because not everything warrants a diagnosis. And so some therapists are all for the DSM and some therapists are against the DSM, or some therapists are, in the middle of that because they're really trying to find a balance between the clients who really do have mental health issues and actually deserve and need a diagnosis, and the clients that we have that don't necessarily meet the full criteria of any type of mental health issue inside of the DSM, and so we don't feel that it's as helpful. Now, some pros and cons to that is if you are giving a diagnosis and that is something that your therapist provides, one, they need to make sure that it's accurate, but two, it also stays in your medical records. Now, I know there is something called confidentiality. I know all of the laws and the ethics around that and what it looks like. However, I have seen a number of cases in my private practice where there have been clients who, have gone to a therapist for years and they had a diagnosis, and now they're trying to do something that actually would prevent them from getting the opportunity that they would like. Y'all are probably like, what are you talking about? Okay, so make it plain and simple is this. I've had clients who had diagnoses and things in their charts, right, that prevented them from getting life insurance policies because they've seen that as a pre-existing condition. Or there have been times where there have been clients who went for particular types of jobs. I will not name them, but they required a psych eval and they required medical records. And because of a certain diagnosis being in your chart, they weren't able to get that job. Or I've seen certain setbacks when it comes to like the military and the services and things of that nature. So be very cautious if you choose to use your health insurance, because remember, you have to be given a diagnosis and that information will stay inside of your medical records indefinitely. And you have to make that personal decision as if that's something that you want to keep and it's not going to impact your life at all, or you might have some type of situations. You might have a court custody, a judge might subpoena records, child custody, legal issues, things of that nature, because stuff does happen. You wouldn't want that information to be disclosed because it could impact the outcome of your particular issue. The next one is directories. So there are tons and tons of different directories that are out there that will help you find a therapist that's a good fit for you. And And I'm not going to be able to name them all, but there are websites and directories that you can literally search online. Some are free, some you have to pay a subscription to. Either way, you'll have the opportunity to browse through different types of therapists and see which one is a good fit for you. So sites like Psychology Today, sites like BetterHelp, Talkspace. There are other sites too that are for specifically BIPOC therapists of color, where you can find a clinician of color to really help you navigate through your life's issues if that's something that you're looking for. So there is therapyforblackgirls.com, there is therapy for black men, there is cliniciansofcolor.org, there is melanin and mental health, there is inclusive therapists and ZenCare, and a whole bunch of different online databases and directories that are full of therapists of color, just like myself, ding, that can really help you navigate through some of, the issues that you might have in life. So when you go through those different types of directories, it is your full-blown responsibility. All of this is on you, boo, to scroll through all of the different therapists. Most of these sites and these databases and these directories have the capacity for you to filter through therapists based on your specifications. Some of these sites will allow you to filter through by location, by specialty. If they specialize in something, they will allow you to filter by cost and range. There's so many different ways. Do they take your particular health insurance or not? These are different unique filters that you can use on particular websites that's going to help you be able to narrow down your search a lot easier and to help you find someone much, much quicker. And so once you are actually on the directories and you're going through probably tons and tons of different profiles, I get it. It can be a lot, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I want you to remember that once you find a particular set of therapists, or you go through and narrow down the search for yourself, the next step begins. And I'm probably going to have to do a video about that and what that looks like as well. But you have to call or go on their website or find out more information about, this therapist to make sure that it's further going to be a better fit for you. So that means getting on and scheduling, consultation calls with them and, all of those things, which we'll talk about in another video at a later time. The next thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and that's important for you on finding a therapist on your mental health journey, are free or low cost resources in your community. So I live in the Los Angeles, California area, and there are tons of different places and resources out here that offer very, very low cost. I'm literally talking about like $5, $10, $20, $30 sessions for therapy that will be a really great benefit for you, and there's even some ones that are completely free. I mean, you can't have therapy indefinitely, but they do offer a resource for you where you'll be able to make sure that you're getting at least your immediate needs met and getting you to a place where you're maintaining and you're stabilizing your life and you're not in a middle of a crisis. So I would encourage you to look and to see if there are any type of programs or resources like that is in your specific community, depending on where you live. LA is huge. Cali is huge, right? And I know that there's a lot of you guys watching, and you guys are in different places and different states and cities and little small towns where therapy resources or mental health resources are just not as prevalent as some of these bigger cities. And so I don't want you to give up. This is the next thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I want to share a little bit of my personal story and journey with you guys as well. So as you are trying to find a therapist that's a good fit for you, please understand that this is a process. So that means you're not going to go on a website or a directory or EAP today or your health insurance today and automatically just find the first person you see and that's going to be a great fit and then you're going to live happily ever after. That's not the name of the game. And because we are in a season or a spot in our lives where so many things are happening nationwide, I mean, it's important for us to understand and know that therapists are pressed on every side. We are in high demand at this point. point. And so instead of you waiting, it's important for you to understand that you want to find someone as quickly as possible. And before I even tell my personal story, I want to encourage you guys not to give up. So if you try to find someone and it's not a good fit, they're not calling you back, they're not emailing you back, you're having a hard time looking through these directories, it's okay, but don't give up. I firmly believe that every single therapist should have a therapist. Okay, I'm not out here providing therapy to people without having my own therapist, because I know that that is something that's really important to me, one, but two, I can't be what we call bleeding on other people because I got my own issues, my own trauma, my own drama that I have to process through in life as well. So it's important for me to keep my own stuff under wraps and in check, so I won't allow that stuff to billow over onto my clients, and that becomes an issue in our therapeutic setting. So when I was on the search for me to find my own therapist, I literally went through 7 different people before I found my therapist. I want y'all to hear what I said. I literally went through 7 different therapists before I found, and I'm not talking about just scrolling online. I'm talking about going through the whole process of finding that person, having the free phone consultation with them, going to the office, having, you know, that first session, and then getting there and realizing like, the energy is not really there. I'm not really vibing with this person. This person is not understanding me. And then being like, don't think we're a good fit, moving on to the next. So I did that 7 times. Oh, and paying for each session, by the way, okay? There's no free first therapy sessions out here in these streets. And so I did that 7 times. Y'all don't know how exhausting that is. I mean, just as a therapist, that's why I have so much empathy for people, and I'm trying to help y'all find a therapist, because the process is not always that easy. But I will guarantee and tell you this before I give y'all the extra secret that I promised y'all from smashing that like button. I want to remind you guys that there's so many benefits of finding a therapist that's the right fit for you. Now, when you find a therapist that's a sweet spot, that's a gem, that understands you, where the energy is there, they get it, you don't have to explain little things to them, and you just feel at home and at peace, and you feel safe there, and there's no issues, that's something really powerful, and it's a sacred space that you wanna hold on to and that you don't want to ever end. So I really hope and pray that even you guys have that experience where you find a therapist that's a good fit for you and it just works. You know, like that is one of the best feelings ever, because you now have a person that gets you. You now have a person that understands you. You now have a person that is going to support you and also check you on the things that need to be checked. And so it's so important for you guys to understand that once you find that, that is such a sweet spot, and it's a therapeutic relationship that can last a very, very long time if it's played appropriately. Now, here's that extra secret that I promised y'all. So one of the things that people do a lot in regards to finding a therapist that's the right fit for them, they wait until something goes wrong. They wait until the divorce, they wait until their kid is acting up, they wait till the depression gets really bad, they wait until they're whatever fill in the blank that is for you. They wait until the last minute, until things get really, really bad, and then that's when they start trying to look for a therapist. Now, I want to encourage you to start that process early. Once something is a little bit off, once you are not feeling like yourself even a little bit, that's when you need to start searching for that therapist and going through the process of the EAPs and the insurance and the directories and everything else that we talked about in this video. Don't wait till the last minute, because what happens is you're going to eventually wind up being in crisis mode, and then trying to find a therapist when you're in crisis mode is so much more difficult and harder than finding someone and giving yourself the time and the grace to be able to do that. And you're going to get more frustrated if you wait till the last minute. You're going to get annoyed that people are not going to call you back, and you're more likely to give up in that state than if you were actually starting and going through the process much earlier once you realize that something was wrong. So start early is the secret key. And let me tell y'all something else. Come on closer. Y'all don't have to go to therapy just for the bad stuff. Therapists, baby, we love to hear good things. We love to hear positive things. There are some amazing things that have happened in my life over the last few years, and I can't wait to process that with my therapist as well, because with good things and with success comes a whole bunch of underlying issues that needs to be addressed as well. So don't just talk about all of the bad stuff happening in your life. Talk about some of the good stuff with your therapist too. So I'm super excited that you guys stayed all the way to the end of this video. I hope something in here helped you, and be on the lookout for more weekly videos coming your way. But in the meantime, check out these right here.